In this lecture, we'll learn 4 different ways of creating an object in JavaScript. So let's begin. The first is creating an object literal. Now this is the simplest way to define an object, and it's a very common practice to create object in this way, that is the object literal, where you just have to use the curly brackets. So let's see practically in the coding screen. First, let me create a file named object.js. Now here I'll say let obj is equal to and open and close curly brackets. Let me also display the value of obj. Let's save this and I'll execute the code. I'll say node object.js and enter. And you can see that it displays the empty object. As far as adding property to object is concerned, there are 2 ways. Let's try them one by one. First is you can add dot and the property name. For example, here let me add obj dot pcode, that is product code, and here I'll say 1 2 3 4 5. Adding one more property which will have a string, that is obj dot pname. In the double quotes I'll say apple. Let's save this and run the code, and now you see that the object has properties added in the list. Let's try the second way of adding properties. Let me remove these object.pcode and pname lines, and here in the object I'll say pcode colon. Now here I'm using colon for assignment, not equal to sign, which we do outside the curly brackets, and the value 1 2 3 4 5. We'll put a comma and then the next property, that is pname colon apple. Now let's save this and check the output, and again the output is same. So this shows that it is one and the same thing whether you give properties inside or you give outside. Now let's move to the second way, that is object creation using class. So after ES6 was introduced, we have the class keyword to create an object also, and that we used to do with the old-fashioned object-oriented programming as well. So let me remove this old code first, and here I'll say class, let's give the name product. We'll open the curly brackets. Now here I'm going to use the constructor which is called automatically when you create an object. Assume that we have pcode and pname inside the constructor as parameter, and we'll say this dot pcode is equal to product code, that is pcode, and this dot pname is equal to pname. Now the class is ready, but we need to create an instance, that is the object. So this is the way which I was talking about, that is const, for example, the name of the object is obj1, and here I'll say new product, and I'll pass values here 1 2 3 4 5 and apple, and here I'll say const obj2 and creating a new product again with the value 1 2 3 4 5 6 and mango. Alright, now let's try to display both obj1 and obj2. I'll say console log obj1 and we'll say obj2. Alright, let's save this and check the output, and now we have both the objects getting displayed. Remember, object literal is little different than the object of class because you create a class as a blueprint and then you create multiple instances of the same class with the new keyword. That is basically an object created. Now let's explore the third way of creating an object, in which we will use object.create method. Here in this method, I'll create a new object on the basis of using the existing object as a prototype. In this case, I'll remove this class keyword and will give let, and product will remain as it is. And rest of the constructor and code line will be removed. Now instead of this, I'll use pcode colon 1 2 3 4 5 and pname colon apple. Now we already have product as object. The object.create will create an object from prototype of product. So let me just say const obj1 is equal to object.create in the brackets product, and here I use same parameters from product with new values. As we can see in object literal, here I'll use obj1.pcode is equal to 123456 and obj1.pname is equal to mango. Let's save this and display the obj1 and check the output. So we have displayed the obj1, and here you can see we get new values with the same prototype object. So this is a way where you are creating a new object from an existing object. And the last is using the object, that is capital O object, which is a class of JavaScript. So here let me say const obj is equal to new object, and let me display using the console statement. I'll say console log obj. Let's save this and check the output, and you can see that there is an empty object. In fact, in the same way you can add properties also. I can say obj.pcode is equal to 12345 and pname is equal to apple. Let's save this and check the output, and there we are. So these were the 4 basic ways of creating objects in JavaScript.